Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome to this yin practice. You're going to want either a strap or you can even use a belt if you're at home, or even a really long thin towel can work well. Something that's just similar to a strap. And if you like to practice with a bolster or pillows, make sure you have those handy. As we begin our yin practice here this evening. So we're going to be working to open up space through the chest as well as through the hips. So we're just going to begin in a nice rooted seated position. Let's tuck something under the hips just to lift the hips and the sits bones up above the knees, which just provides a really supportive position for our low back. We're going to roll the shoulders down and back a couple times. Kind of checking in, noticing how the body's feeling. And then allowing those shoulders to settle down the back. Let's flip our palms facing up on our laps. Just begin to close down through the eyes if that feels safe and comfortable for you. Beginning to notice the breath and how the breath is moving in and out of the body. Slowly beginning to lengthen the inhale as we think about filling the lungs from the bottom, making our way up. So on our inhale, you can feel the expansion of the belly, the chest, the upper chest. And on our exhale, let's release through the upper chest, mid-chest, and belly. Big deep breaths in. Bigger deep breaths out. Just allowing the breath to move in and out of the body like a wave. We're sitting here connecting with breath. Let's give ourselves that permission to be fully present in our practice on our mats. Letting go of any distractions, whether they be external, what's happening around us, or internal distractions in the mind. Committing to this time on our mats, present in the practice, connected with the body, connected with the breath. You may choose at this time to create an intention for your practice, something you are working on in your life, or something that you're just wanting to work on in this moment. Whatever pops to mind first, just trust that. Blinking the eyes open slowly. We can shift the hips off of whatever you might be propped up sitting on, and we're going to reach for that strap or that belt. Beginning to open up through the shoulders and through the chest. We're going to grip the strap, wrapping the fingers around and just kind of finding a nice comfortable grip, so nice and wide. So inhaling, we're going to draw that strap up overhead. And exhale, let's bring it back down. If it feels too tight, you can walk those hands a little wider, inhaling up. And exhale back down. Couple more here. And this time, as we inhale up overhead, we can choose to stay here, or maybe we begin to pull that strap back behind the head, and only if the shoulder allows, we can roll over through the shoulders, bringing that strap right back behind us. Exhale, we'll draw that strap back down to the lap. Inhale as we pull up overhead or down back behind us. Exhale. One more here. Inhaling. And exhaling. Good, and then just finding a little bit of a hold. So we're gonna lift that strap up overhead. We're thinking about pulling the underarms to face towards the front of the room. So we're drawing those shoulders down and back, but pulling the underarms forward. And then thinking about pulling gently with the hands away from each other. So we're creating that little bit of tension through the strap or through the belt or whatever it is you're using at home. And then just really connecting with that breath. So even though the arms are lifted up overhead, let's stay nice and relaxed through those shoulders, so allowing them to drop down away from the ears. Couple more breaths here. Last one. Good. On our next exhale, let's release that strap back down. Maybe release the hands and just roll it through the shoulders a couple of times. So we're going to move through that one more time with the option of taking that strap right back behind you. So inhale, we're going to lift that strap either up overhead or whatever height you can comfortably get that strap to if you have some restriction with your shoulder mobility. So here, wherever feels good, or we can begin to drop it back behind us. So same thing, those shoulders are pulled down and back. We're just going to connect in with the breath, and then just a gentle pull of the arms. Just creating a little bit of tension through that strap. We want the wrist to be in a nice neutral position, so avoid extending or flexing, and just try and hold those wrists in a neutral position. Nice big deep breaths in and out. Three more breaths here. So as we're ready to head out, optional to just open up the hands and release that strap down to the mat space, or we can slowly make our way back. Up overhead, releasing that strap. You can shake out through the hands, roll out through the shoulders, maybe roll out through the neck a little bit. And finding another stretch opening up through the shoulders. We're going to take the strap in the left hand and reaching it up overhead. Internally rotating that right shoulder. We're going to reach back to find this strap. And then maybe begin to walk those hands in a little closer. Alternatively, you can just reach back and find fingertips. You can just practice there today, so your choice. So we're going to find a nice stretch through that shoulder. So optional to inhale, open up through the chest and just hang out here. Or we can actually begin to take a little bit of a fold in this position. So either just hinging at the hips or rounding right down into a fold.
And just because we're using the straps, we want to be mindful that we're not forcing any positions. So like always in our yin practice, we're just moving into the shape to the point where we begin to feel sensation, and then allow ourselves to patiently wait there. As the sensation starts to dissipate or maybe lessen, then we maybe can dive a little bit deeper at that point. But we never want to move into full expression of any of the shapes right off the hop in our yin practice. It's about allowing time and gravity to draw us deeper into the shape or the pose, allowing time and gravity and patience to allow us to release that tension through the body, which helps to alleviate or release some of that tension through the mind and through the heart. If we're folded forward on our next inhale, let's start to draw ourselves back upright. And then exhale, we can release those arms. You shake out the hands, roll out through the shoulders, whatever it is that you need here. And then switching arms, so you can take that strap in the right hand or that belt, just allowing it to kind of dangle down the back, and then that internal rotation, gripping that strap. If you want to move right into those cow face arms with the fingertips, you can. But even if you can access that shape, you may still choose to use a strap here today in our yin practice. So again, just because I can force deeper doesn't mean I need to go there. And especially if you're wanting to choose that fold option, let yourself use that strap, have a little bit of space, and then you can head probably deeper into that fold. So inhale will really open the chest. Maybe we're just going to choose to stay here. And again, just like when we were overhead, we're just gently tugging up and down on that strap just to create a little bit of tension, and then beginning to fold forward. You may also choose to change the crossing of the legs just so you can get into the other hip a little bit more this time round. And if you're wanting to choose a fold, but the floor feels a long way away, you can always place something to lay down onto. So if we want to lay down onto pillows or even like a stool, place a pillow on a chair or something, rest your head there. Get creative with your props at home. Pretty much anything can be a prop if you can just allow yourself to be a bit creative. So really connected with the breath. If you're folded right over, maybe not able to draw in quite as deep of breaths, but really let's focus on that full and complete exhale. One more breath. And inhaling, let's start to draw ourselves back up. Exhale, we can release that strap, shake out the hands, roll out the shoulders. Maybe rock through that neck a little. And using the strap, we'll move into a really gentle fold here. So you can stretch those legs out away from you. And we're gonna hook the strap or the belt or whatever it is you're working with under the balls of the feet or in the arch space. And the feet can be together or apart, whatever feels good for you. If you want to place a pillow or a bolster or something under your knees, feel free.
So we move into a really supported fold position. Inhale as we sit up nice and tall, and as we exhale, we're going to begin to draw ourselves into that fold. So staying with that bolster or pillow if it feels good, or you can just flatten out through the legs, or maybe even use something a little smaller, rolled up towel or something under the knees. So beginning just by hinging forward at the hips. Stay nice and tall through the chest for a couple of breaths. And maybe choosing to stay here, or as we exhale, we can begin to round forward, maybe walking those hands a little further down the strap. So remembering we don't want to force this shape at all. We don't need to find the full expression. We're just going to move till we begin to feel sensation, and then we're going to patiently pause there. So our yin practice definitely allows us to open up space in our body, but can also teach us a lot about patience, trust, kind of embracing the pause, not focusing on the destination, but simply being here to do the work. And I always like to say less is more in our yin practice. If we force ourselves in too far, we can kind of fall into a power struggle with our bodies a little bit, where our muscles will be engaged to try and protect through the joints if we're stretching to the point of that reflex. So it's that balance of finding that sensation without pushing too far. So again, as we're here, if that sensation starts to dissipate a little bit, you can feel a little more space, maybe we can draw ourselves a little deeper, but no need to force. We're here for 5 more breaths. Inhale, let's slowly sit ourselves back up. You can release that strap. Maybe shake out through the legs. We're going to begin to invite ourselves down onto our back. Nice and slow, controlled. As we arrive here, let's just stretch those legs out long, the arms up overhead. Just a little bit of a counter stretch to that forward fold. Slowly beginning to ground into that left leg. We're going to take the strap, tucking under the ball of the right foot, or the arch in that right foot, and then just begin to press that heel up towards the ceiling. So we don't need to find a complete extension or a straight leg here. We can keep a little bit of a bend. You can also play around with the angle at the ankle, so a little bit of flexion, or if we want plantar flexion, a little bit of dorsiflexion, so kind of figure out where you'd like to be. And then optional to stay really rooted through that left foot, or we can begin to extend it out long away from us. Wherever we are, the shoulders are pulled down and back, trying to stay as rooted as we can. And we're holding this strap, but try not to be gripping too tight, so we can be as relaxed as we can while still maintaining a hold on that strap. So just settling in here with the breath. Trying to have those elbows also grounded down. If you feel like you're really lifted, you can even take pillows, place them on the floor so you have something just to lift that floor up a little bit. And softening that knee a little bit more, we can release the leg just slightly as we begin to open up through that right hip. So we're gonna stay nice and rooted into the mat space with both hips and just begin to allow that right foot to fall out towards the side. So we can stay extended through that left leg, or we can root down just for maybe a little bit more balance or to keep us a little bit more rooted here. And you can play around with the angle at that right hip. So we may want to have the legs a little closer together, but allow that foot to come right down to the ground or near the ground. Or maybe you want to pull that leg up a little bit higher. Feel free to place that foot down onto props as well if you don't want to just be holding that arm up. But we have the strap in that right hand. You maybe even want to extend the left fingertips out away from you. Again, just encouraging the body to stay really rooted through the left side, as opposed to letting ourselves just kind of be carried from momentum and lifting up towards the right. So just beginning to settle in here. Shoulders are pulled down and back. We're only holding the tension that we need. Letting the rest melt away. Couple more breaths here. And softening through that right knee. You can release that heel down a little bit closer, so close that angle at the hip. As we draw that leg back up through midline, we can just release that right hand, kind of roll out through the wrist. And then we're gonna open into some counter rotations. So we're gonna find adduction of the hips. So staying rooted through that left hip, we can shift the strap into the left hand and begin to allow that foot to come across the body. So this time we can let that opposite hip, so that right hip in this case, come up off the floor, but we're nice and rooted into both shoulders. Maybe choosing to extend that right arm away from you. And if you'd like a little bit extra support, you can place bolster, pillows, whatever it is you have at home, down to the floor so we can rest that foot, or we can just stay suspended with that strap, your choice. Remembering that sometimes the wall can be the best prop of all. So if you're practicing near a wall, you can kind of just rest that right foot to the wall space and just give that hand a little bit more of a rest. Just settling into the breath here. If you get tight in the outer part of the hip through that IT band or that piriformis there, glute med, this is a really, really great stretch to do. And inhaling, we're just start to draw that leg back up through midline. So again, soften at the knee, use the core as well as our arms, draw ourselves back. And then just maybe pull that foot in a little bit closer. And exhale, let's release that strap, release the foot. Maybe just stretch out long or arms out to the side. Just taking a moment to notice what's happening through that right hip, through the right side of the body. Also notice what's happening through that left hip and the left side of the body. One more breath here. Okay, and then let's reach for that strap. We're going to head into our second side. So grounding down through the sole of the right foot. Let's tuck that strap under the arch of the left. Begin to extend that leg up. Remembering we'll keep those shoulders pulled down and back. And nice and rooted here. We want to feel as supported as we can through the arms. So either grounding the shoulders into the mat space or maybe using some pillows or blocks or something just to lift that floor up. Can have the leg straightened or we can have a bend through that leg. We can be pushing the toes away from us a little bit or drawing them in. And we can keep that right foot rooted, which can help a little bit with balance as well, or we can extend it long. Making sure that if we're extending that right leg long, that we're still feeling supported through our low back. So we're still able to think about kind of pressing that low back into the mat space. We don't want to be arched here. So if we are, then let's just even find a little bend, root down into that foot. Without any judgment of ourselves, just really notice what's happening for you in your body. Notice which hamstring or which hip feels like it's maybe holding a little bit more tension than the other. Couple more breaths here. And just softening that knee a little bit. Drop that heel a little bit as we begin to open up into that external rotation. We can allow that hip to drop out to the side. Nice and rooted through that right hip. Maybe reach those right fingertips away from us just to help us stay rooted to the right side body. So again, we can allow that leg to just kind of hang, holding it, or we can place it to a prop or maybe even to the wall. We can keep that right leg extended long, or we can root down through the sole of the foot. Again, we're not forcing any of the shapes, which can be a little bit more tempting when we're using the strap, because we can use our arms to pull us in deeper, but we're not going to force them. We're just going to find that sensation and then have the patience just to hang out there, linger there a little while. Couple more breaths here. Just allowing yourself to release. And once again, we can kind of soften through that left knee, close that angle at the hip a little bit as we draw back up through midline. And then we'll begin to move into that counter rotation. So we can draw that left leg across the body, let that left hip lift, but root it into both shoulders. So we can place that left foot to any props or even position ourselves so we can kind of rest up against the wall. And if again you tend to get tight in that outer hip region, this is a really great stretch. Just open up through the musculature and the fascia and everything that's holding that hip joint really stable. Which is good, we want that hip joint to be stable, but if they're overcompensating, then it can lead to a lot of tightness, maybe misalignment, discomfort. Couple more breaths here. Now once again, soften in the knee. We'll draw that leg back up through midline. Exhale, let's release that strap, release the leg down to the mat space. Maybe reach those arms up overhead. Finding a couple breaths as we really notice what's happening through the left side of the body, through that left hip, through the right side of the body and that right hip. And so often we may not even recognize the tension that we're holding in our bodies until we begin to dive in a little bit deeper in our practices. Or maybe we don't even notice the tension that's there until we release it and let go. And then we're like, hey, there's space here where there wasn't before. And just draw the soles of the feet towards one another. So we root into a nice grounded butterfly or cobbler shape. If you'd like to tuck anything to the outer edges of the knees, so if you want to tuck any pillows or rolled up blankets or anything just to support the knees a little bit here. Not necessarily to hold the body up, but more as just a tactile cue to the body that there's something there to catch us. And then allow ourselves to just really relax through the hips, through the pelvis, through the abdomen, the pelvic floor. The hands alongside the body, or even placing the hands maybe where you're feeling that sensation on the fronts of the hips. Just again, that little bit of tactile sensation to our bodies. It's okay to release that tension. And then nice and connected with the breath. One more big breath here. Then placing the hands to the outer thighs or edges of the knees. Let's support those legs back together. Just gently rock the knees side to side. And starting to draw those knees in towards the chest, giving ourselves a hug here. So we can choose to stay here either in stillness or finding some gentle movement side to side, front to back. You could also use a strap to the fronts of the shins, maybe pulling us in a little deeper. Or we can move to happy baby, either grabbing the soles of the feet or the inner part of the big toes, or we could use our strap to find a happy baby. So placing that strap under the arch of the feet. And then drawing those knees down towards the mat space. Maybe again, finding a little rocking side to side here. So we can stay in knees to chest or happy baby, or we can start to move to a legs up position, either with the strap or even without. If you want to tuck something under the hips just to lift the hips up a little bit, make this a little more passive position, you can. So even just a rolled up blanket, a block, pillow, bolster. For using the strap, again, we want to be nice and relaxed, or as relaxed as we can through those shoulders, so drawing them down and back, seeing if we can be nice and rooted through the soles of the, or sorry, through the elbows. Find just 2 more breaths wherever you are. And then gently releasing the soles of feet back to the mat space. Just release that strap back down to the floor and slowly rock those knees side to side. If you'd like to find that nice elongated position, once again, reach those arms overhead, legs out long, please do. Or we can just begin to invite our bodies into whatever will be your relaxation position. If you'd like to choose a traditional Shavasana, the legs resting long, the shoulders pulled down and back, and the arms resting along the body, or choose anything else that feels safe and supportive for your body. Using props under the knees, under the head, maybe side lying. Just beginning to allow ourselves to drop into the stillness here. Observing the natural rhythm of the breath flowing in and out of the body without any effort at all. You may choose to remain in your relaxation or Shavasana for as long as you would like. Or if you've chosen this practice before bed, maybe just gently crawl under the covers, tuck yourself in, and head off to sleep. I want to thank you so much for joining me in this yin practice, utilizing our strap here today. And I'll look forward to practicing with you again very soon. Namaste.